the masses is too crazy right now. You can't stop it. I consider myself one of the pioneers of sneaker stuff. I consider myself there. I'm not gonna sit here and say that. I know I have a voice. I know I have a platform. I know I have things, but you can't stop the masses anymore. It's just too much. You can't stop that. I mean, if we got a president of the United States, we got a secretary of state, we got this, we got that. There's still crime all over the world. There's still this, there's still that. There's still all kind of things. There's still racism. There's still all kind of things all over the world. It's not, no matter how hard we try, we're supposed to keep trying, but no matter how hard we try, there's always going to be stuff that slips through the cracks. And you know, as gatekeepers, the community is too big. And there's so many people that are not even in the community now that know they can capitalize off the community, right?
You know, a lot of people from Nike
I give you a perfect example. Hold on, I'll give you a perfect example. Nobody on this planet is stockbrokers, right?
Right.
We all bought this motherfucking Bitcoin and Doge and all this bullshit, thinking we're going to turn $400 or $500 into $1 million, right?
Right.
We don't know shit. We're not stockbrokers, right? So it's going to slip through the cracks either way. So you know what I'm saying? So there's no police in that situation. Well, you just got to have a heart. You got to have a heart, and we want to do it. Okay, Dunks, I'm sorry.
Media, Discord, Reddit is kind of just exposing how easy it is to catch a short squeeze, or it's just enlightening the public at what hedge funds are already doing. And a lot of people, even the younger generation, is treating sneakers or shoes like individual stocks or investment platforms. And with that in mind, everyone's goal is more so profit or money versus keeping this community together. Right. Or I was referencing back in the day, we had Nike Talk. A lot of those guys disappeared, and very few have transferred over to Instagram. And even some of them are just secretly reselling and keeping it to themselves because they've seen what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, but part of the reason why, you know, like.
I mean, but you got the freedom. Like, all right, let's say you buy a $20,000 pair of lobsters for like $3K, right? You never wear them. 10 years go by. It's worth $20K. You got the right to sell it if you want to. You know what I mean? Like, the game blew up. Right. You made an investment. You go buy whatever you want with that. And I don't hate someone for doing that.
Right.
But then there's like the other side. I always compare it to like the X-Men. There's the good guys and the bad guys. And we all have the same goal. We just go about it differently.
Different ways, yeah.
I hear that. I guess to his point about the gatekeepers and stuff, and the part of the, I hate to say, like, I consider our show part of that, but I think part of what we try to do is we try to speak on things. And you're right. You're not going to police the whole community because it's way too big now at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's like one traffic cop trying to stop all traffic. It's not going to happen, right? But you could do something. You know what I'm saying? And a little bit helps. And so hopefully we're able to have this conversation, which leads to other people having this conversation. And while it might not stop it totally, it might stop. If we could just stop one person, like, to me, that is.
But the crazy thing about it, the person or the one entity that can do the most to combat most of this reselling or put a chink in his armor are the brands by producing. But that goes that. So them not caring.
What are the brands supposed to do? Break this down. Because we all have relationships with brands.
The brand's end goal is to sell product.
Exactly.
They don't care who buys it and who sells it, as long as it's out of their hands and they got the money for that transaction. They don't give a shit what happens.
Right. So what are the brands supposed to do? Is what I'm asking, Google. Like I'm asking, you know, on a straight dialect. Like
okay. So I guess from my vantage point as a true person who I don't say collector, whatever, but as someone who worked sneaker retails for 10 to 15 years and at management level, I feel like their cop out is, oh, we're not going to make a whole bunch of shoes, but when we do, it doesn't sell. Well, there's other shoes that you make a whole bunch of that doesn't sell, that doesn't have a demand, and you still make them. Yep. So prime example, right? And this is like the dunk situation. You could make more dunks, right? Because my thing is the one person who spent $500 on one pair of dunks, they could have bought 2 or 3 dunks from you. Right? So like that's one thing. So you see the demand is there. The resale market is the marketing gauge for you. So you can say like, okay, we dropped this, okay, people want it, we could up it more. That's the one thing. The second thing is availability. Right? So we in Detroit, we don't get a lot of stuff. Man. So we have to lean on eBay and StockX to get a Cloud or a Soulfly joint or Undefeated collab. You know what I'm saying? That's one. And then another thing too is kids are getting to the sneakers. It hurts my soul. My son asked for a pair of Kobe's a couple weeks ago. Couldn't find it. Had to search on eBay. Got him some Lower Marion Kobe 10s in his size. Right? He's a 13 preschool. Yesterday he saw a Nightwing video. He wanted the Kobe draft days. I had to tell him that I couldn't get them because Nike didn't make the shoes. Not only for my son, his daughters can't wear Kobe shoes because Kobe said, Nike said, well, Kobe's weren't really selling, but after his unfortunate demise and his passing, the demand went up. It's sickening, but it did. So therefore, you can have the demand now to make his shoes and to do his legacy a service, you make more pairs so the kids can carry on his legacy.
Right.
So I mean, it's a
Thank you.
multifaceted. I understand the business. We want to
Right.
keep things limited so people can go crazy. But at
It's
some
not even.
point,
Let me stop you for 1 second. I want you to understand something. This is meetings that I've sat in years ago. Stuff that this is stuff that I know. I'm speaking what I know. You put a pie up. You put a chart, right? And you do sneakers, tourists, athletes, this, that, sneakerhead, sneaker community. It's the smallest chart. It's the smallest thing on the chart. And I've sat with Nike and I know this for a fact. Not saying they don't care about it, but I'm telling you what it is. Nike's gonna have, at the times that I had this meeting, they're gonna have 17,000 pair of shocks inside of Nike Town because of tourism. So when people from London and stuff fly in and the euro is stronger than the dollar and they buy these shoes and they take them back home, and then tourists like to have these shoes, and then athletes like to have these shoes, and these are comfortability things and stuff like that. These Jordans and all that, $1 billion company, $1 billion part of Nike's net worth, all of that stuff, strong percentage, it means nothing on that chart.
Well,
It
I mean,
really means-
let me
I've
count.
sat in those meetings, bro.
No, I'm saying I believe you. I will say this though, Nike is also smart.
It's
enough-
not and it's not a shot to the sneakerhead. That's
Oh,
just the way that.
we've
That's
said
just
that
the
plenty-
way the chart breaks.
We said that plenty of times on the show that sneaker culture, when you look at the grand scheme of things, is a niche. However,
We influence-
We are exactly. We are
1 million. I agree with that, Guru.
We move the needle, and Nike knows that. This is why there's a sneakers app for sneakerheads, and there aren't like an app for like
Shots and
you
Pegasus.
know, like exactly. so they know we move the needle. They know that while sneaker culture might be a niche,
But how much are we really moving the needle if the pie on
Right,
the chart is so
that's
small?
what I was
Because-
Making the app.
because
Let's
it's
not
called
be-
a vocal minority. So it's like that's how we operate, right?
I
And
don't
so-
think making the app was to focus on sneakerheads. I think it was to actually try and prevent bots, which just didn't work, unfortunately.
It was meant to do both, probably, but it was definitely meant because they know he exists, and like I said, we definitely influence things, and when I say move the needle, is because, like I said, we are a vocal minority. You know what I'm saying? So like black people, we're a minority,
Yes.
but yet
60% of the country.
we influence culture, we influence music, we influence
Fashion,
art, we
art,
influence
sports.
fashion, we influence all that stuff, right? So
1,000,000%.
right, so that's how it operates, right? And so they know that, and so I think the problem becomes for me is when you got a fan base, a dedicated fan base, like sneakerheads. I think you have to think long term. Yeah, right now it's selling, but what ends up happening is, like to Guru's point, when you make so many releases that are limited like that, people take enough L's, they're going to stop caring. They're going to get jaded. They're going to fall off. Now it's not happening right now because hype. But at some long term, if people got to go years in between W's on the sneakers app, why bother? I've heard a lot of people say, you know what, I just deleted it off my phone. Another problem, and this is a problem that Nike will even acknowledge, fakes. Part of the reason fakes have become big is because you created such a demand for the product that when they can't get it from you, they're going to get it from somebody else, especially if it looks good enough. And Nike hates that. So it's like, what do you do?
I mean, is that really part of? Is that we don't accept that in the culture? You're not catching. I'm not.
No,
I'm not letting
you-
a friend of mine wear a fake.
Oh,
I'm
time
not
out,
letting a
time
friend
out.
of mine wear a fake. I'm
You're
not
making my
letting
point.
anybody.
You're making my point though, because once again, what I say earlier, we used to self-regulate. You're right. Me, you, Guru, MJ, we used to be like, nah, like we would see somebody walking around with some fakes and we knew.
Well,
it was
I'm not
fakes.
walking up to nobody and be like, yo, your shit
No,
is
no, no,
fake.
no,
I got
no,
no
no,
time
no.
for that.
No, I'm talking about people in your circle. I'm talking about people in your circle.
My circle.
That's what I'm
They
talking
buying
about.
the fakes,
Exactly.
though. The young kids.
We used to self-regulate when it came to things like that. These kids do not care anymore.
Right.
They don't care.
They just
Like, I
trying to
can't-
look good. They
Exactly.
just trying to look like they got it.
You know how many times, so we got this thing we do now. We call it sneaker review reviews, where we review other people's sneaker reviews, right? We just react to it. You know how many videos now we see of UAs and people are proud of it, like don't even care no more. It's just like, you know what? And it used to be a time where you felt ashamed that you did it either because you
Right.
didn't know,
Or because
Or-
you didn't have it.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Now they don't care.
They
They do
like,
not
they
care.
look the same. I
Right.
ain't paying $2,000 for these.
So
But,
and Nike will acknowledge that that's
the
the problem. That's
mindset.
one of their biggest problems. You know I talked to them too. So
Even
that's,
with-
You
that's
talk to them more. You
Like,
talk to them more than I do. All
But
my
not only
meetings are
Nike-
old meetings.